I am not 100% sure if the original guest speaker, Curtis Branch, is coming. I'm not for sure, once again, who Elite Magazine may be. So, Melinda, it's me and you here.
Okay.
And if he does not arrive, which at this point, I think people give that like 15-minute grace period or so.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're getting very close to that mark. So in 2 minutes, if he doesn't arrive, we can start and we can just change the topic without speaking about the financial aspect of it,
Okay.
and go to the original with just the art of passion and breaking generational curses.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay, it is now 7:15, so we are going to go ahead and I'm sorry, my screen just went blank for a second. We are going to go ahead and dive into today's topic. We were originally supposed to have a guest speaker, Curtis Branch, to talk about Forex and the crypto exchange. However, maybe something came up and he was not able to make it. And so we are going to pick back up with our original topic of the art of passion and what it means to break generational curses. So I am Ashley. I am one of the hosts. Our second co-host today is Melinda.
Hello, everyone. Glad y'all can make it. Hope everyone is doing fine. I only see Adrian. We got Greg and Chris, Elite Magazine, and Kool-Aid the Kid. Hello, everyone. Hi. Good evening. Everyone that I can see looks well. Hope everyone is doing good in their best to try to weather through the storms, we're in life, and keep moving forward and keep our mind settled and quiet our mind and just try to be happy. So it's good to see everyone, and I'm gonna turn it back over to Ashley.
And that is a perfect segue for what we are going to talk about. I think when we talk about the component of like generational trauma or breaking this generational curse, a lot of it stems from the mental aspect and not knowing or also not having the resources and knowledge to do certain things. A lot of what we experience in our adulthood stems from some of the things that we, went through and experienced as children. And we don't recognize how much we carry with us into our adulthood until we kind of have that like ha-ha moment for some of us of, or as other people would say, a wake-up call, where you recognize that either some of the things that you have been doing you no longer want to do, or you're becoming a person that you no longer want to become. Or sometimes it's just saying, I want something new. I want something different than what I've used to, what I've been surrounded by, what I've seen. For other people, that may look different. So there's a multitude of things that can take place. A lot of us don't recognize how what we experience can be considered trauma. There are a lot of things that we have gone through that we may not recognize affects us in our body. Something that I've learned in school that helped me redefine the way that I view trauma is this. So for most of us, I think when we define trauma, we think about what has happened to us and the experiences that we've had. And I learned that trauma is the way that our body responds to what has happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see people acting out, or you see children acting out or misbehaving, or you see adults kind of carrying this anger inside of them, or not being able to communicate certain emotions and things, it comes up in that manner because your body is literally reacting to whatever that current or past trigger has been. And that can look different across the board. A lot of what we don't recognize is that we are triggered, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. So a trigger are those moments where you become uncomfortable, where you feel anxious. It's literally your body protecting itself from experiencing that same kind of feeling, that same kind of pain, that same kind of hurt. Or it's kind of like, we talk about fight, flight, or freeze. That is the way that you respond when your body kind of goes under attack. And that's the way I kind of look at a trigger. It's your body defending itself from whatever this current situation or moment is that you're having. And in order to let go and to move forward from some of these things, you have to be able to acknowledge them. You have to be willing to say that this is a trigger, and you either have to put a boundary in place that will help you not navigate that same type of narrative with the people that you're around, or you have to learn something new in a different way that will allow you to dismantle what it is that you're experiencing. That is an ongoing process. When we talk about breaking these curses and healing is a journey, and it's an everlasting journey. And once you start it, you have to be prepared for what comes with that. I feel like I can just, continue to talk. I'm gonna take a pause right here. Belinda, is there anything that you want to chime in and say really quick?
Well, the behavior of, yourself, for me, when I see my behavior in other people, or some behavior that I don't like, I'd be like, ugh, I'm not going to act like that, or that's ugly. I'm not going to respond like that and get, when I see behavior of people, because sometimes it takes you to see some ugly behavior and be like, oh, I hope I don't do that. I hope I don't respond to that, or make sure that I don't. And as far as the body remembering trauma, it has its own memories and uh, unconscious mind. Our body has a consciousness and mind too. So you're absolutely right that your body can store painful experiences that can be triggered by the sight or the memory of trauma. And it would be good to know how to handle that, because it can repeat itself and really put you in a dark, stuck place that you may be hard to get out of. So it's always good to do some self-reflection and kind of, where am I? How do I feel? Gauge yourself. How can I not feel that way again and keep repeating that negative emotion or behavior? It's good to do some self-reflection on your feelings and have someone to talk to. That's also good.
I am always going to recommend going to therapy.
That's what it's for. That's what it's for.
Okay, I'm biased. Obviously, everyone knows that I'm a therapist, but no, seriously, go to therapy.
Well, you can market
Therapy,
that. You're right. It works.
therapy is here to help. Okay, I'm going to go on this tangent because I have to say it.
Okay, go for it.
When we talk about therapy, and I'm going to bring up the Black community, specifically, we need to break this stereotype and barrier surrounded by therapy. And that is, you have to be, as people would like to say, crazy to receive help. Negative,
Yeah.
negative, negative, negative. No, everyone, Black, white, how, whatever, needs to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Everybody has experienced trauma in their life. I don't care if you
Especially
consider
us.
something small or big. Trauma is trauma, and it has affected you. It has changed your life in some kind of way. The things that you have gone through have impacted you. It affects the way you communicate with people, the way you love others, the way you view yourself, the way you treat people. In every aspect, you do not recognize how much you're holding on to, and you need to let go until you're confronted with it. And sometimes you're confronted with it from other people. You're confronted with it when you keep experiencing the same things, and you go on this like rabbit hole, and you're like, well, why does the same thing keep happening? And it may be a different situation with a similar outcome. And that is because there's something that you haven't addressed. Or maybe there's somebody that you need to disconnect yourself from. There's something in you that you're not willing to face and talk about or deal with. It's not being honest with yourself. It's not reaching out for help because you think that's a sign of weakness. It's not allowing yourself to express and experience your emotions. And maybe for some of us, it's because we don't know how. And so that's still a source of trying to seek that outer help. That still plays a role. When you are so like, as you know, Melinda, you talking about going through a storm. Me and my family, we kind of at that point right now, honestly. And with everything that we've been experiencing over these last few weeks, you have to check on your loved ones, but also take care of yourself.
Yes.
Recognize the things that you have control over and the things that you don't have control over. And you have to separate that and let it go. I mean, do what you have to do to make yourself feel better, but understand that these situations and circumstances are not ours to fight. You got to give it to a higher power. You got to, get the help that you need to talk about those things, or go to the people that's a part of your soul tribe that can be there for you in a healthy way and allow you that space to talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, communication and venting is very important because negative emotions held in is not good, and they tend to perpetuate themselves because where you put your energy and focus, pay attention to, it will that's where your power and energy flows. And if you always, your mind, I think our minds, I don't know, are hardwired sometimes for negativity. So we have to counter. It's like a battle between glass half empty, glass half full type of mindset. Your perspective on how you look at things is very important too. Uh, if you look at what's broke and what's not working all the time, instead of, the saying, count your blessings. But I think that's just awareness and understanding on how to live your perspective on life. And as far as the stereotype of getting help being a stigma in the Black community, I know men would have that 2 times because they are considered to be strong and masculine, and their masculine energy, they cannot cry and be weak. And I think it's a guy on here, Gregory.
Yes.
If you want to chime in, Chris, chime in on this.
That's not that Gregory. That Gregory's not on the call.
Oh,
it's a different Gregory on the call.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my point is, I know men don't have the liberty as us women to cry and just be emotional, and that's not good because then they let all that negativity bottle up in them, and then they end up blowing a cap, going off on the deep end because they wasn't able to vent, relieve that negativity, talk, share how they feel, be transparent. And there's some guys that do, that can and know that and have that support system. It's just, I believe it's a lot of men that don't have that in our community, and that needs to be shared and taught at a young age.
And that goes back to childhood trauma, because
Yep.
that's what you're taught. Literally, men are taught to be strong. Like you said, you can't show emotions. You can't allow yourself to cry. You can't be vulnerable. And so that trickles down to when they have relationships, when you have a significant other, when you, with their children. And it becomes a kind of like that repeating cycle. And so a big thing that I have been trying to instill in men, especially with my clients, is allow this one space that you have to be that space. If you feel like you can't have that elsewhere, find the source and make sure that you have a partner that can allow you that same gratitude. If you can't feel safe with your partner to have these difficult conversations, then you need to reconsider, because that should be one of the most sacred relationships that you have outside of maybe like your parents or your siblings. That should definitely be the person that you can go to, because they're supposed to be there to help guide you, to be an addition to you, an equal, in a sense, to enhance the qualities that you already have. And it's important to make sure that at some point you're able to have these different conversations, but a lot of us do see where we can't. And I mean, this is just across the board. We talk about like our soul tribe or people that's connected to us, and that plays, I think, one of the biggest parts in where you are in your life. The people that you surround yourself by is very imperative. It's imperative to your growth. It's imperative to the person that you want to become, or the person that you've been in your past. Because if you're trying to elevate yourself and you're still hanging around people from high school or middle school that are not in a position to elevate themselves, you're either going to remain stuck with them, or you're going to, face the reality of having to move forward without them.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes that's really hard to do, because we preach about loyalty, we preach about consistency and having this foundation and showing up for people, but you got to make sure you're showing up for yourself. And you can't do that if the people around you are not pushing you and motivating you and encouraging you to be the best version of yourself. And it's not necessarily a downfall to them. It's just they don't have the skills and resources to do what you can do. And so unfortunately, it's either you're going to have some people that's going to see what you're doing, the work that you're putting in for yourself, the healing that you're doing, and they may want to join you. And that's great. Bring them along. But then you're going to have those that's going to say you're changing, you're switching up, you're not who you used to be, or
You
you're
tripping.
judging me. Right, you tripping. And it's like, no, it's not that. I'm changing, I'm growing, I'm healing,
Growing.
I'm leaving this stuff in the past.
I'm evolving into being more so my authentic self, who I need to be. I need to be more in alignment with my creator and my truths, who I really am. As far as sacrificing and always putting somebody else first, isn't that Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yep.
And the good place to be is that self-actualization. And I probably read that 20 years ago and realized that's a good place to be. In tune and in line with your own self and your creator. And anyone who has a problem with that, it's going to be a problem.
Exactly.
You got to be who you are.
And if you're not, one of my clients said this to me the other day. She said, if you're not a part of my solution, then you're the problem. um, and I thought that was phenomenal. And I'm like, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
But it's real. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they need to ask or want clarity on in regards to what we've been talking about? You can use the chat or unmute yourself.
I don't really have questions. I have testimony.
Share.
Well, being that, of course, I don't know if anybody know, but Ashley is technically my little cousin, but she's born in another life, so I feel like she's older than me sometimes. Um, we are our soul tribe is definitely strong. Because I'm able to have the conversations that I can't have with other family members. Um, just overall for me, with my experience, I'm 37 years old. What was it? 2018. I decided, because I was completely stressed out, like, let me start out with at least a life coach. So I started there and unlocked a lot of the traumas that I had in regards of self-confidence, uh, knowing your worth, especially in the workplace. That's where it started at. Because you kind of get downplayed just off your ethnicity, and as far as like the things that you think outside of the box, people try to make it seem like you're doing too much sometimes, but really and truly it's just they're jealous because they didn't think of the idea. So 2019 I decided to go to a therapist, and she basically called me out and said, why are you allowing surface level people to bring you down? And that was my last year working for somebody else. And I didn't realize that it wasn't just work, it was friends, it was family, just making me feel like me existing as who I am was tearing me down as a person. And now at 37, last year I met Katherine because of Ashley, and she's been my spiritual life coach ever since. And I had a few sessions with her over this year, and just had like a release ceremony this year. And it's like, wow, I broke down all these layers of what people put on me. Mm-hmm. And now I'm the most strongest, most confident woman that I could ever be in life. That's because good. I was able to sit with myself and say to myself, oh, you're not doing too much. They're just not used to someone being authentic and honest and loyal, and don't stop your shine for other people. And when it comes to us talking about, I have a lot of traumas when it comes to the male species. So instead of existing in those traumas, I'm looking into starting a podcast to motivate men to talk about their self-worth. So it's instead of being stuck on like, hey, I'm gonna just be by myself, I'm not gonna date or anything. It's like, no, look a little deeper and try to help out those men that need that help. And I just love the conversations that we have on here, because it's also a part of breaking down traumas as well. These different conversations that we have each week. So I appreciate everybody on the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So growth is every day. And when I say, if I didn't have Ashley, Katherine, these circles every day, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
It is. It's such a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, shut it.
Shut it up.
Yeah, we definitely are each other's therapists all the time. Like no matter how many degrees she got, she still got her big cousin sometimes. Okay.
Okay. And that's a good word. I seen Maxine Waters tell one of the senators on the House floor to shut your mouth. I cried. Auntie Maxine.
She's so real.
She's so real. I love her. She said, shut your mouth. You don't have the floor anymore. I cried. Because that's what really needed to be said. So, and she said it.
Way it's like, she knows, like, we got each other back. That's my hit right there.
Okay. Okay.
And that's real. Obviously I know I'm young, and yes, everyone tells me like, who are you? Where have you been? You've definitely been here before. Chris has been saying that literally since I was a little girl. And so I think it's just, it's my passion. It's my purpose. This is what I'm here for. These are the conversations that I love to have, which is why I'm a therapist. I literally do this every day. But really it took for me to go through my own healing journey to break the dynamic and the barriers within my own personal life of the trauma that I experienced and to be honest, sometimes that meant disagreeing with my family members. That meant telling them how I really feel, even through those hard moments, and not only holding them accountable, but holding myself accountable, recognizing that my experiences were my experiences, my feelings were valid. And while other people may not always be able to see your narrative, your truth is your truth. And you
Sure.
can't allow people to take that away from you. People
No.
can only give you what they have. It's up to you to figure out how you decide to choose to show up for yourself, how you decide to move forward with the things that you've experienced in your life. We get into our adulthood and sometimes become stagnant and stuck and don't recognize how many barriers within us need to be broken. Um, Melinda, you mentioned something very good with learning how to show up as your authentic self.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
takes being very intentional. The reason I can have these conversations and I'm able to just do this so free form is because I know that this is my life's work. And the reason that you guys are able to receive what I have to say is because this is me authentically. This is
Sure.
who I am. And every time I get a new client, that's my disclaimer. What you see is what you get. This
Yeah.
is who I am. I'm going to hold you accountable. You may not like me some days. And that's because I'm always going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
People do not have those kind of people in their lives. They don't have people that's going to be honest with them about themselves, about the choices that they're choosing, about the things that they're doing, or about how they're affecting you or the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those are hard truths. And when people talk about like this journey of healing, this like art of passion, you have to be passionate to want to become a better version of yourselves. People have one breakdown and be like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. If you don't want to put in the work, it's unfortunate, but like you can't make people change. You can't
No.
make people heal. You can't allow yourself to want more for someone else than they want for themselves.
Correct.
And the quicker that people learn that narrative, the better they will become. I know it's sad to see people that you love be put on kind of like, unfortunately, like a back burner. Like you can't really show up for them anymore. You can't be what they need you to be, and it's because you're choosing yourself. And when
Mm-hmm.
you make that decision, you have to recognize what comes with that, and that's not easy. Sometimes that means you may lose your partner, your husband, your children. Like everybody is not going to be able to receive the better version of you because they're still so much attached and attracted to the unhealed version of you. Trauma bonds are something that I don't think is talked about enough.
No.
You are attached to certain people because you guys relate to very similar situations. But when you learn to change the narrative of your life and the things that you have gone through, the traumas that you experience do not have the same weight and magnitude as they once did before. And as you release them, people will still try to attack you. So you see sometimes when you own this wave of doing really good and then you just start getting hit with all of this stuff. The reason that is because they're trying to see if they can still have access to you. They want to see if they can still break that healthy point in you. And they're like, oh, if I can ease my way into this little window crack, or if I can try to come from this angle, and it's like, no, I know myself. I'm protecting my peace.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to always be faced with ups and downs in life. Listen, I can say one of the greatest things that when you come out of that storm and the things that you're going through, instead of asking why me or why is all of this stuff happening or it's too much to bear, you have to take that moment and take a step back, breathe, assess what's going on, ask yourself, what do I have control over in this time frame? What is it that I can do for myself to make sure that I'm okay, so I can try to show up for my loved ones when they need me? Or I can try to, or I have to show up for myself because I need me.
Yep.
Don't put the weight on yourselves to be everything that everyone else needs, because in those moments you need yourself more than anything.
And that reminds me of that serenity prayer.
Absolutely.
That's the serenity prayer, just to be acknowledged. Hey, I can't control this. What can I control to keep my peace and sanity in this situation? Because some situations, they deliberately try to break you, your peace, your joy, your mental state. But what I was going to ask you, I don't know if we're talking about self-awareness or self-actualization. Is there like a quiz or something that you give to your clients or that you use to for a person to like gauge themselves? Because I know it's a lot of people that could use just a self-actualization quiz. Where am I at? You know, on like what we've been talking about. I haven't seen one. I haven't looked for one, but I think that would be good.
Noted. I'm gonna write that down. I have not personally actually used like someone else's or some method that has been out there, but I can tell you what the tools that I use.
Okay.
So typically when I'm at this point with a client, the very first, like my very first couple sessions, how I gauge where a person is, I ask them to journal. And the first thing I have them write is, what does the best version of yourself look like? Because that tells me where your mind goes. That tells me if you can see outside of where you are right now. That shows me how much you're willing to put in to become that person. And that ranges. So I start there. So that's my first kind of step. The second thing that I do is I do this practice of like, where do you feel these things in your body? When you are sad, when you are frustrated, when you are angry, take a moment and think about where in your body you feel it the most. If you're angry, do you feel this in your chest? Do your shoulders get tense? Do you feel your body getting hot? Like, you have to recognize how things impact you. Some people, you may get a headache. Some people, you may become fatigued and tired. So that's kind of like the second self-actualization. The reason I start with those things is because if you need to become aware and start recognizing how things are impacting you. I can't just sit here and tell you, well, to become self-aware, you need to, you have to help guide a person into becoming self-aware for themselves. So say, for instance, if a person doesn't know, I provide scenarios. Okay, so if it's a student, so if your professor makes you upset and you want to cuss them out, what is the first thing you feel? If your boss tells you to do something that you don't want to do and you want to cuss them out, what is the first thing you go through? If you're having a conversation with your daughter and you're triggered, where does your mind go? Because it's those moments where you go off somewhere else, that is where the core belief is. That is the underlying issue. We think, like anger, for instance, is a secondary emotion. But most people don't recognize that. They're like, oh, I'm angry. Yeah, but why are you angry? Well, because I'm angry. That's not the answer. There's what in that situation made you so upset. Break that process down. I hope that helps.
What is your go-to reaction or response to conflict? What is your go-to? Are you verbal? Do you think? Do you walk away? What is your go-to when you're faced with conflict? You know, from a family member, from a coworker, road rage, a driver cut you off. What is your go-to? And that says a lot about you. You know, are you cussing and trying to fight, or are you just get quiet, step away? Yep, that's good. That's good to be aware of that.
So, like for instance, if a person is angry and they get quiet and they shut down,
That's me. That's me.
my thing is, and my rebuttal to that is, well, were you told that you weren't allowed to have a voice?
So that's what I was going to go to. So I used to be that way. Like, even I'm gonna say it's been 6 months since have not been that way, and that's a short time. But I'm glad that I worked on it, because yes, it was where I never had a voice, no matter where I was. And even if I did speak up, it'd be like, oh, you're such a telltale or something like that, you know? So now for me, my silence is to process. And then, okay, I'm a speak I make sure that I'm saying what I need to say to someone where it's not offensive, not hurting, but my voice is being heard now. I'm not allowing nobody to shut down my voice. If I have an opinion or a thought or something, because I have to look, I still have to self-reflect and understand that I'm a person that always gives everybody respect. I have to regain my respect back. And that was that was something that I did not have. A lot of people did not respect my voice, my opinion. So I'm like, no, I have to fight for my respect instead of going silence, because you're going to continue to not have any respect if you just sit there and just take it. And that was also a defense mechanism to keep peace, because I didn't want to deal with it. And I'm like, no, that's not okay, because they're going to continue to keep doing it if you don't say something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Well, in my environment coming up, my mother was always vocal. So my environment, I always communicated and was able to, well, I don't think this is right, and da 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 da. Without getting popped in the mouth too often. But my mother, she didn't hold them up. And as I got older, I had to find balance in being verbal and then internalizing and waiting, be still, and digest, process the information, let other people fly off on the handle, and then I can stay calm if I just be quiet. So it's that balance. It's that balance. Should I speak, when not to speak? And I'm still practicing and learning that. Because sometimes less is more. Then on other times you need to verbalize where you're at on this issue.
Yeah,
so
because
it won't be, oh, I didn't know.
yeah, because there's some people, no matter how much you use your voice, they're still not going to hear you. So the silence is your power. And and then it drives them crazy. And you're like, well, I can't talk to you, so I can't get my point across no matter what I say to you. It might come to you later. I'm going to just pray for you. And that's sometimes what you have to do. And you just have to give whatever frustration you have to God. So,
absolutely. And Adrian,
yeah.
you mentioned a really good point. Is like sometimes now you recognize that when you're silent, it's because you're processing. The difference between the space that you're in with being silent now and being silent in the past is that you're able to communicate that you're processing, and you know that within yourself, so you don't allow yourself to carry whatever that situation is that's trying to rattle you up, or whatever you feel like you need to speak against about. You don't allow it to affect your day-to-day, or I should say at least try not to allow it to affect your day-to-day. And you take that moment to like Chris said in the chat, to reflect and to sit with yourself, to allow yourself to understand what it is that's really bothering you.
Yeah. And that also comes with being a person that was like a strong empathic nature. Like I take on everything. Like I'll be so in tune in emotions. And now I can hear you, but I'm not about to receive that energy. I'm not able to process that energy. I'm like, I'm not giving you that energy, so I can't process that. But I hear you. I'm still listening. I'm actively listening.
Yeah. What is that word? Empathetic? Empathic?
Empathic. Yeah. So it's pretty much like if we look at it like Ashley and I are going through a situation where we have a few people in the hospital due to COVID and things of that nature. And it's certain things that's going on right now that just don't make sense. That normally, if if you are strongly empathic, you'll be extremely upset, crying, going crazy, all these different things. But now it's like, okay, we on the topic of is things are not under our control right now. So what would be the purpose of me going crazy and flipping out and taking on this pain and all these different things when, hey, I'm not even in the situation. I can sit here and I could pray for you because I can't do anything about it. So it will be like, oh, okay, but sometimes you still have those little moments.
Sure.
And you have to sit down and take your naps. Sometimes you do, but it's
Sure.
not as bad as it used to be.
Sure. And I must bring up the serenity prayer again, and just being aware of what is your perspective on this, on life. Well, how are you looking at this? Decides a lot of your behavior and emotions and your thinking and all those things that go along with it. Is how are you looking at it?
Yep. To piggyback off of what being an empath is, it's like Chris said in the chat, is picking up on someone else's energy. Um, it's those moments where you recognize that you may have an overwhelming feeling of emotions, or you may be carrying on someone else's energy in situations that may or may not concern you. It's those moments sometimes when you're around somebody, and if they're at a low vibration, then you become at a low vibration. But if they're at a high vibration, then you become at a high vibration. You're able to kind of read people without them having to actually talk about what it is that they're going through, because you can feel it within you. So like when you're around people and you see that somebody's kind of like quiet and reading the room, they're aligning themselves to be in that space. They know who to navigate to have certain conversations. They know how to remove themselves from certain situations, and not to always speak when spoken to sometimes, because they're processing what it is that they need to say to that individual so they can receive what it is that they have to offer. Yeah, and also that serenity prayer is definitely amazing. And then you talk about life. Something else that I ask people is, how do you define life? What does life mean to you? Because everybody's definition is different, and I throw a lot of people off with that question. Me and my friends talk about this, everybody. And so I actually want to ask y'all that, like, how do you define life, and what does life mean for you?
Well, I just want to go back with the empaths and the definition. I Googled it right quick on my phone. We all are the empaths
Mm-hmm.
because it's all energy and vibration anyway.
Yep.
And it's just being aware of your response to, I guess I'm sensitive. If I see that you're sad, it's going to wear off on me. And I'm going to try to pick you up. But if I find out why you're sad or what going through, that's going to have an effect on me. I found out last week that one of my coworkers who I've known for over 20 years passed. Her services is tomorrow, and she's not 60, she's not retired, and unfortunately, the virus uh, ended her life, and it has affected me all week, and I haven't seen her in just say about a year, and it has. I have to constantly keep pick myself up, uh, being because I'm sad about her untimely death, and my spiritual practices, the music I listen to, the people I talk to, my support system helps me, and it's hard. It's still, I still have my moments.
Absolutely.
It's
So
still, it's definitely going to be hard because like we're just saying, like, we have people in the hospital right now, and when one of my cousins went on life support, I felt the heaviness on
Sure.
me. And so what I had to do was make sure that I was meditating, practicing grounding, which is something that, Katherine made me more in tune with. And over this last year, I've been able to like sleep better,
Good.
because I'm making sure to balance all that out, because it is going to be those moments where you cannot control how you feel because you deeply care for somebody, no
No,
matter
human.
no matter how long it's been since the last time you talked to that person.
mm,
So it's okay to sit in those emotions, but at the same time make sure you balance it out with prayer and meditation. And like you say, you're doing your best that you can to talk to people about it, and even sharing it with us. I applaud you for that,
Yeah,
because you need that shoulder. We all need that shoulder. So
absolutely.
yeah.
It helps. It helps by being able to just talk about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it helps. Just like woo,
Yeah, it's
and
a
people can relate. People can
yeah.
relate because we are
absolutely.
human. We're all having this human experience, and it's challenging. And we definitely need some strategy, tools, and our therapists to help us. We need therapy, and it's so many people I don't know this, and I would like to be a part of getting this information out to make people, our society, a better place. Definitely share this information.
When you talk about, like, you're going through like these moments and having that, allow yourself to experience that, because you have your own form of releasing, and it's okay. It's okay to not be okay every day. It's okay to be emotional. We've been dealing with this pandemic and COVID for about a year or so now, a little over that. And
Yeah.
I think that the reality is we all are affected by it. Everybody in the entire
Oh,
world is affected by it to some facet, whether people want to believe it or not, it's affecting them.
yeah.
And it's one of those things that unfortunately is out of our control. And it's also one of those things where you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in the best way that you can. I feel like it's that constant reminder to make sure that you're double and triple checking what it is that you're doing, and allowing yourself to not feel weak, but yet strong with being able to express your emotions, because we have emotions for a reason. And that is
Absolutely.
how we gain our strength. When people talk and say, you are strong because you overcome this, and yeah, while some people may overcome things, it's you have allowed yourself to experience those things. And for me, that's two different narratives, because you can overcome a lot of things in life, but you can be so oblivious to it because you didn't allow yourself to experience it. We go into like this overdrive, and we dive ourselves into work and taking care of the family, and avoidance is a big thing that we do.
Mhm.
And then we have these moments where you see people having mental breakdowns, you see people
Yep.
crashing, you see people having these moments where they're not able to kind of bounce back and become who they once were, because they just kept taking jab after jab after jab and not allowing themselves to experience those emotions. So don't feel bad for it.
Oh,
Take it
going
with a
through the
grain of salt.
process. Oh
Every
yeah.
day is something different, every moment. So embrace that. And I'm sorry for your loss, and I do appreciate you for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
And the
Thank
other
you.
thing as well that we really need to talk about is people go through these moments and don't learn nothing after they go through these moments. They just go back to normal life as if you just wasn't crying a week ago. And it's like, what, like, how many times does God have to show you that you need to appreciate your life?
Oh yeah.
How many times, like, you sit here and cry, oh my God, everything's a trauma and this and that. And it's like, are you going to evolve from it? Are you going to evolve? Like, nobody, it's a lot of people not taking out the time in this pandemic to really gain what we are gaining right now, is valuing life and improving. Because if I didn't go through all the things that I went through in my workplace, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I wouldn't have lost a lot of the stress weight. I wouldn't have better relationships with people, if I didn't sit down with myself in those tears, in that dark space. I wouldn't be here to be bright and energetic and talk and speak light on how good it feels to be emotional and be present with the people
Yeah.
that's around you.
Be
So
present.
be present. It's like you can't keep going backwards. We're supposed to grow each year, each second, each minute. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yep. And then
And live.
we can help someone else out once we
Mhm.
learn the lessons.
Yeah, and living for the people that's not with us. That's the goal. Like, live for them. Don't sit in mourning. They wouldn't want you to do that. They want you to live for them.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Does anybody else have anything that they want to ask or anything else to say? You can put it in the chat. If not, then we'll end with a prayer and wrap things up. Anybody got something to say?
I love you guys.
Oh, you too.
Yes,
This is
Ashley.
good.
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes.
Well, are you guys going to reschedule the man that was going to hold a meeting tonight about the forex and the cryptocurrency?
I would hope that we would. I'm sure that I will make note for Katherine to reach out to the gentleman to see if, maybe something has happened where he wasn't able to, but he did not communicate with us that he wasn't going to show tonight. So yes, I will definitely make note of this and inform her so she can reach out to him. And if it's not him, then we will make sure that it's definitely somebody else that's in the same field.
Thank you. I enjoyed this meeting tonight. Thank you. You guys have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Belinda, you gonna end in prayer?
I am.
All right.
Spirit of the living, most gracious and precious God, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for life. Thank you for life in itself. Thank you for the breath of life. Thank you for this opportunity to link us together here and that we can share our gifts, our love, our talent, because it's all about you. It's all about you, God, and we need you. We need your covering. Keep us strong. Bless the ones that wasn't able to attend this meeting this evening. Bless us. Keep us strong. Bless our family, friends, and loved ones. Let our light shine. Let us learn from the lessons of life so we can help someone else and be a blessing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you, everybody. I hope that you all have a great night, and
You
I look
too.
forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Take care. Thank y'all.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.